everyone, welcome back to Continental Food and Cake TV. If it's your first time here, you are highly welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to cover a cake with fondant and decorate. So if you want to see how I'm going to do that, please keep watching. So the first thing I'm doing is kneading the fondant, and today I'm going to be using white fondant to cover the cake, and the cake that I'm going to cover is 12-inch and 8-inch. So I'm going to cover the 8-inch first, which is the small one. So I'm rolling out the fondant with a rolling pin. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to roll it out. So this fondant I made myself is stretchy. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to roll it out. And while rolling it out, you need to move the fondant around because you don't want it to stick to the table. And I'm using a pin to poach the bubbles. There's a bubbles there. You can see me poaching and smoothing it with my hand. This step is very important when covering cake. You need to get something like a pin or a needle, poach any bubbles that you see and smooth it. So I've finished with that. The next thing I'm going to do now, I'll bring the cake. I'm going to cover the cake with the fondant. So I'm going to move the cake a bit to get a space to drop the cake and cover it with the fondant. That's what I'm doing now. And while placing the fondant on top of your cake, you have to be really gentle and careful with it. While covering your cake with the fondant, the first step is to smooth the top and the edge before smoothing the rest of the cake. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm lifting the fondant with one of my hand and smoothing with the other hand. You need to do this step until you cover the cake completely. So next, I have a smoother, and I'm using a smoother to go around the cake to smooth it even more. Next, I'm going to use a pizza cutter and cut around the cake to take out the excess fondant and fold it. You can still use it again. So that's what I'm going to do. Fold it and keep it for the next cake. Keep it in a bag so that it's not going to dry up. Next, I'm going to be doing what we call sharp edge, and I'm using the two smoother, dragging the fondant together to give me that sharp edge. After doing that, this is what it looks, and one of the cake is ready. Next, I'm going to be working on the second cake, and I'm using the same white fondant. I'm going to sprinkle some corn flour. I'm using corn flour for that. Sprinkle it on the work table so that the fondant will not stick to the table. So I'm going to knead this fondant, and this fondant is very stretchy. So I did this fondant myself. I'm using a rolling pin. Roll it out. This step is important if you're covering a cake. So I'm still rolling out the fondant with the rolling pin, moving it around so that it's not going to stick to the table. And if possible, use the pin to push the bubbles and smooth it out with my hand. But while I'm doing this, I'm going to ask you for a favor. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so that whenever I upload, you will not miss it. We upload video every week, and we have new recipe to show you every week. So please subscribe. And while rolling out your fondant, please remember to use the cake smoother to smooth your fondant, making sure there's no bubbles before you cover it with your cake. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cover the second cake with the fondant. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to use a cake smoother and smooth the top of the cake. Please, this step is very important. Why? Covering cake, you need to smooth the top of your cake with the smoother. After smoothing the top of the cake, Then you start smoothing the side, which is what I'm doing now, the edge. You smooth the edge with your hand. Be gentle with it. Take your time with this. If it's your first time decorating or covering cake, it might look a bit difficult, but practice make perfect. Do not be scared to practice. You can practice with a dummy cake. If you're scared of practicing with the real cake, you can practice with dummy. So what I'm doing is I'm covering this cake with the fondant, using my hand to lift one of the fondant and smooth the cake. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm lifting the fondant with one of my hand and I'm smoothing with the other hand. So you keep doing this till you cover the cake completely. So as you can see, I'm still smoothing the cake. Yes, I'm doing this video for beginners or for people who are not used to covering cake. I don't want to fast it. I want to show you all the process step by step on how to cover a cake. And you can see this is the second cake that I'm covering. So please do not be scared. Practice make perfect, as I said before. So now I'm using the smoother to smooth it even more. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Next, I'm going to be working on the edge. We call it sharp edge. So what I'm using is I'm using the two smoother, dragging the fondant, and when you drag the fondant together, it's going to give you that sharp edge. Smooth, beautiful, clean, smooth cake. I'm going to be doing that all around the cake, using the smoother to drag the fondant together to get the sharp edge. You can see what I'm showing you. Next, I'm going to be using the cake steamer to steam the cake, and what the cake steamer does is help you take out all the corn flour or icing sugar that you use to roll out the fondant. Next, I'm going to be using a cake dowel, and what a cake dowel does is that when you're stacking a cake on top of a cake, you have to put a cake dowel in the first cake because this is one tail cake. So I have another cake going on top of this cake. So to keep that weight, you need a cake dowel to help you keep that weight. So I'm using a cake dowel, and I'm going to be using about 8. And this step is very important. You have to use a cake dowel when stacking your cake. And when putting your cake dowel in your cake, please put your cake dowel in the center of the cake because you don't want it to be seen. So you have to make sure it's in the center of the cake, and that's what I am doing. I'm going to be using buttercream to rub on top of where I put the cake dowel. This step is also important because I'm going to be putting a cake board there. So what that buttercream is going to do is going to serve as a glue to hold the cake board when I put it. So you can see me putting the cake board, and this cake board that I'm using is 7 inches because the cake that is going on top of it is 8 inches. So you have to use a cake board that is smaller, an inch smaller than the cake. So you can see me placing that cake now. That's the second cake that I'm placing. When you're putting your second cake, please be gentle with it. And the top cake is 8 inch. The board under it is 7 inch. So that's what I am doing. You have to be careful. You have to make sure that the cake is in the center. You can see how I am doing it. I'm going to be decorating the cake with edible lace that I made myself. This lace is edible and is gold color. Very, very beautiful color. And you know, gold and white goes really, really well. So I'm going to place that edible lace all around the cake, the border. We call it border of the cake. Next, I'm going to be working on the cake board, and I'm going to be using this double side tape. Put it around the cake board, then go in with a ribbon, gold ribbon that matches the edible lace. So you can see how the ribbon is making the cake beautiful. So when you apply the ribbon around the cake border, it makes your cake so beautiful. So that's what I'm doing. Next, I'm going to be working on the top cake, and I'm using this edible gold lace, and I'm using it to decorate the top cake. So you can see me putting it there. But please remember, before you put your edible gold lace, you need to apply some water or glue. And you can see what the edible lace is doing. It makes the cake so beautiful. When you put this in the cake, it makes the cake so beautiful, and I love this cake so much. And this cake is for a beautiful lady called Onyinyechi. It's her 40th birthday cake. So this is how to cover a cake and decorate a cake. I love this cake so much, and I hope you love it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you for coming back. If you're new here, you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so that whenever I upload, you will not miss it. Thank you so much to the old subscribers, to the new subscribers. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I will see you in another one. Bye bye.